So over the last year, you've made over $130,000, 150 on track this year. I mean, that is a lot of money you've made. Your income increased drastically, and we're just living above our means right now. But I'm saying, hey, one photo shoot, $2,000, that pays off this personal loan that's a 30% interest rate. That pays off half of this First Capital One credit card.
That is a real big target. I'm coming with my shotgun at that debt.
Like I said, 11 different credit cards, and we have $100 spent on it, $200, $600. I mean, you're still spending money on these credit cards, over $1,000 a month.
It was just really survival.
It's not because you've increased your debt by $25,000 in the last year. I don't want you to be in a spot where you're 70, 80, 90, or 100 years old and you still have $100,000 worth of student loans. I'm stressed about your finances, I think, more than you are right now.
It sounds like it. My name is Sharon Nicky. I am 58 years old. I'm calling in from Newark, New Jersey.
Awesome. And what do you do for work up in New Jersey?
A lot. I am an executive assistant by day, and then for the rest of the hours of the day, I am a realtor in New Jersey and New York, and a commercial actor and model as well.
So you're doing it all. How much you make a year with each of these different gigs?
Right now, the executive assistant pays the most. So right now, I'm at about 78,000, and with the real estate, depending on the year, let's just say this year was pretty decent. So let's add another 70, and the acting and modeling is still trickling in. So I'm going to say a solid $5,000
So about $150,000 a year in income?
so far. Yeah.
Okay. And is that how you've been the last few years? What was your total gross income for 2022?
For 2022, it was less than that. It was like 130.
So this year's a little bit better on the real estate side, it sounds like.
A little bit better on the real estate side. Yeah.
That's good for you, especially with interest rates rising. So keeping it consistent, making some money there.
Yeah. It's good for me all around because I got a lot of debt.
How did you define your current financial situation? You just talked about a lot of debt. So, but you also have making six figures a year. So how would you define your current financial situation? Scale of 1 to 10, 1 being horrific, 10 being picture perfect.
I feel like I'm probably between a 6 and a 7. I feel like I do have decent income. It's not great because I live in New York and in New Jersey. So like 150 is really, I know that may sound funny elsewhere, but it's expensive to live here. So, and a lot of the debt has incurred because of my other side hustles, my acting and modeling and my realtor. There is opportunity to make money, but there is also a huge investment in both of those. So that's why I have a lot of credit card debt.
So you're going into credit card debt for the realtor side and the modeling side?
I wouldn't say going into debt. I will say because as a realtor, you know, when you get listings, your marketing budget all of a sudden explodes overnight. You know, you can have a marketing budget for let's say $200 a month, and then you get a listing, and then all of a sudden, like you got to make sure that you know, the property that you're listing is out there. So now you have to put it on all of the websites, you know, all of the different platforms that you can put it on. Depending on the price of the listing, you have to hire a photographer because you want to get really great pictures so it can sell. So all of those little things happen. And then as an actor and model, you have to do photo shoots. And you know, I'm not 20. So I need the whole, you know, thing.
Talk about your current debts. I have them in front of me. Do you want me to read them off or do you know them off the top of your head?
No, you read them off.
Okay. So personal loans, we got $1,078 at a 30% interest rate, which is $150 a month minimum payment. We have student loans for $110,693 at a 5.75% interest rate, which your minimum monthly payment you put is $941. We have credit cards at $31,014 and some change with minimum payments of $1,243. We have a car loan for $21,000 with a minimum payment of $218. IRS bill for $11,822. And then state of New Jersey, I'm assuming that's for taxes for the state of New Jersey, for $8,650. So that is $184,525.67 worth of debt. Does that sound right?
Yes.
You made $130,000 last year, and have you made any progress on this?
Yes. I mean, without going into too much detail, I had a gift awarded to me. And as you know, when you get gifts, you're responsible for the taxes. But certain gifts have a higher tax bracket, and mine's did. So that is the reason why I have the debt with the IRS.
So you weren't aware that there's going to be gift taxes on that when you received it?
You know what? Yes and no. Yes, I was told I would be responsible for the tax. However, life responsibilities and challenges come up, and I use the money to support myself.
How much was it for? What was the total amount?
I mean, half of it was given to me as a 1099. So I got a 1099 that was about, let's say like 45,000. Then the other half was given to me like a payroll check. So there were taxes deducted, and that check that was about like 21,000. So it was like about $60,000-$70,000.
Okay, so it was taxed as normal income then. Because if you're receiving 1099 and it's running through payroll, that's just normal income tax.
Well, yeah, the smaller one.
Was it not just income that you were receiving?
It was an award for something.
Okay, so it was an award, but it's still treated as income tax. So I wouldn't put it as a gift. I'd put it as just normal income then.
Now, that's a better way of putting it. It was money that was given to me.
Okay, and then assets. What assets do we have right now?
None.
Retirement accounts? Nothing? Savings? Nothing?
No.
Okay.
I mean, savings is very small. Very small. I think I have the amount of my savings there.
$170.81?
Yeah, it's very small. Yeah. It wasn't. Last year was an interesting year because it was the first year, because I had gotten the money, I decided to, try everything full time without the assistance of a significant amount of 1099. So a large part of my monthly expenses was taken from the money that I was given that incurred the huge tax debt.
So the basically $90,000 in gross income prior to taxes that you received, is that on top of the $130,000 you made last year, or does the $130,000 include that $90,000 of income?
The 90 is included in the 30.
Okay, so you made 40 and then you made additional 90,000 from whatever this is.
Right.
This year you're on track to do 150 without that gift income?
Right. No gift, just regular, I should say, just from the real estate, the acting, and also, the job.
So right now we got net worth negative $184,000 because we got $184,000 worth of debt and $170 in your bank account. And with your income, yes, I know New York, I knew New Jersey is an expensive place to live, but there's no reason that, hey, we got $184,000 worth of debt when you're making that kind of money.
Well, I mean, the goal, at least in my goal for me, and maybe you may change my mind, is to make 250 or better. And then also to learn, well, I won't get an award like that again. So I think that's a large part of the problem.
So a lot of people think income's the problem when it comes to being in debt and getting out of debt. And don't get me wrong, making more money definitely will help the situation. But the problem is right now is you have spending habits that unless you change those now, it doesn't matter how much money you're going to make, that money's going to flow out the door just as quickly as it came in. And a lot of people think that, hey, when I get the next pay raise, or hey, when I get a higher paying job, I'll be able to get out of this debt and pay out this debt. And they start putting it off about creating a budget, sticking to a plan until that happens. But the issue is, if you don't change your habits, you're never going to change when you make them more money. And that's why lifestyle creep is a thing. Keeping up with the Joneses is a thing, because you get a new job, whatever, and you move to a nicer house, get a more expensive car, go on more vacations, and your money goes out just as quickly as it came in. And right now with $150,000 worth of income and looking at your rough monthly expenses being $3,388, if you're making $150 this year after accounting for taxes, you're probably bringing in about $104 after taxes, which is $8,718 a month. That means we got $5,000 a month missing right now. And if I had to guess right now, making $130,000 last year, making $150 this year, you probably don't have a written budget that you look at, analyze, or track every single month.
I do. So I respectfully disagree with you, because the award was kind of the thing that, how can I put it to words? It was an unexpected source of income, and it was a little bit of break from the norm of what I usually do. I have a spreadsheet with all of my expenses, and I'm very good at tracking. I will agree with you to the point of getting a better budget to stick with, and maybe making realistic goals about like a lot of my real estate expenses, because like I said, I get a listing and then all of a sudden my market budget explodes. So I will agree with you on that point, and probably making more realistic budgets for my real estate business.
I mean, your rent right now looking at $1,500 a month, which is not an exorbitant amount in terms of compared to your income. If you're making over $100,000 a year, $1,500 a month in rental and rent is not a bad spot to be in. I mean, New York City, one bedrooms are $4,000. So it's not like you have a $4,000 apartment that is taking up 40 or 50% of your income. Right now, it's taking up a fraction of that.
Right. That's why I live in New Jersey.
So that means we have a lot of money that's missing or going to things that might not be needed, or going to things, like you said, on the real estate side that you're blowing through your marketing budgets and you're not making as much money on that as you should be. You got $2,500 a month in debt payments right now between the personal loans, student loans, credit cards, car loan. That doesn't include the IRS and the state of New Jersey. Are you paying those right now, or what are the monthly payments on those?
I am actually working with a tax firm that's helping me to resolve the IRS and the state of New Jersey debt.
Okay. And then I see the business monthly expenses for $475. Are those are separate than everything else you put in spreadsheet as personal expenses? These are completely separate for the business side, correct?
Yeah, I did put in some separate. And then there were also some personal expenses that didn't fit into the spaces you allotted for personal expenses.
Okay. So let's take it back to your childhood. Where'd you grow up, and what was your kind of financial education growing up?
I grew up in the Bronx in New York, and financial education was not great. It was basically survival day to day. So,
okay. And did your parents talk to you much about money at all growing up?
Not really. Like I said, it was just really survival day to day. I'm the oldest of 5. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. This is, I'm the oldest, so I was born in 1965. So it was a very different time back then. There was not a lot of education, especially in my community, about a lot of things. I grew up in a poor neighborhood. I grew up in the projects in the Bronx. So there was definitely not a lot of conversations about any kind of financial saving, even going to college. I didn't go to college until I was 40 years old.
Okay. And is that when you got the student loans out, was when you went to college there when you were 40? And what'd you study in college?
Business.
Okay. And what was the total loan balance when you took that out? Because you still got $110,000 left on it. Was it higher, or has it increased over the last 18 years?
Thankfully, because of the pandemic, interest has accrued. So I still have 110. Unfortunately, President Biden didn't win and reducing it. So now I have a payment of $941. I've actually contacted Aid Advantage, and I sent the $10 payment. I asked for a forbearance or a deferment until I can figure some things out. I asked for a year for that. And my job right now is a new job, and it's temporary, so I have an opportunity to negotiate for a higher salary to give me a little bit more money, because when I did the income, the IBR for the student loan, I got my monthly balance down to $531, which is still a significant amount. I'm hoping by the time I get an offer to become permanent, I still have another opportunity to negotiate a higher salary. I also applied for 2 employers that are part of the student loan forgiveness program. So that could potentially wipe the entire debt out. I mean, it may take a couple of years, but I'm willing to work for an employer for maybe 2 to 5 or even as long as 7 years to take away my $110,000 student loan debt.
It's not a bad thing to look at or see what those opportunities are. I mean, if you can do that, because we got a whole wall of debt right now, and if you can be attacking this other stuff while those are getting paid off by an employer that's willing to do that, that's definitely something that I would be looking at and comparing. And if they're going to offer you $50,000, we can go make $100,000 somewhere else, that's not worth it. But they're matching your salary at another company. They're going to pay off your student loans too. If you work for them for 5 years, whatever it might be, that can definitely be in your best interest there as an option to look at least.
Absolutely.
Okay, so student loans started to resume, but you said you're currently trying to get those pushed off for a year. Have you looked into like Biden's SAVE plan and everything that's supposed to kick in next year?
Yeah, I looked at all of the plans, and then I also found out today that Navient is being Navient has a settlement, but I didn't qualify for the settlement. I did look at the other savings plan, and the thing that I find most challenging as far as reducing my debt is there are a lot of state savings or student forgiveness plans, but I am a resident of New Jersey and my degree, was from a college in New York. So I don't qualify for any state programs because I'm not a resident of the state that I received my degree.
If you're doing the debt snowball route, then the student loans is really the last thing to look at when it comes to all of these.
They have the lowest interest rate, so I'm not as worried. I mean, I'm worried about all of my debt. And also, let's say I'm not 20 years old, the beginning of my career, and I'm like, don't sweat it. I am pretty far, in years, but I'm very optimistic as well, too. And I feel like there is opportunity for me to make more money and to get more realistic budgets. And like you said, Daly, to really just improve upon maybe some areas of spending which you will dig deeper into.
Yep, 100%. On that note, let's talk about your monthly expenses. I have that pulled up in front of me, and we already talked about your rent, $1,543 a month, home utilities, $52. So your total housing is $1,595, which again is about 18% of your net income if you're making $150,000 this year. Auto and transport, we got $226 for car insurance, $218 for your car payment, and $150 for gas and Easy Pass. So total transportation about $595. The groceries, $400 a month. So your total necessities bring in just under $2,600 a month there. Subscriptions, $16. Eating out, $100. Entertainment, $100. Health and fitness, $21. Personal care, $400. Shopping, $0. Nails and massage, $160, which brings your total fund money to just about $800. So your total expenses just under $3,400 a month, which making $150,000 a year, you do have $2,500 a month in debt payments, but that would still put you at roughly $5,900 a month in expenses when you're bringing in $8,700 a month accounting for taxes. So there should still be some wiggle room and buffer in here. So we'll kind of dive into some of these different monthly transactions, see where this leftover money is going.
Okay.
But first, I guess I want to touch on a few things that we didn't touch on. The personal loan, the $1,000 personal loan, what is that for?
That was for, what did I use that for?
Because it's got a nice 30% interest rate on it, which is not fun to look at.
No, it's not fun. I think it's actually, I think I got that loan. I've gotten a couple of them. So I've had a loan with them over, I'm going to say maybe a 7-year period, and it's $1,000 now. I was actually thinking I probably don't want to borrow from them anymore.
I don't want you to borrow from anyone ever again.
And this is maybe something you can help me with. So I've learned that there is a thing called borrowing responsibly because your credit score is impacted by, what you use.
Can I stop you right there?
Go ahead.
Worrying about your credit score when you got $184,000 in debt should be the least of your worries, in my honest opinion.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
Your credit score only matters. It is a judgment or guide for people who are giving loans to say, will this person pay back my loan? That is what a credit score is. It judges you based off of your debt history, your debt payment history, your utilization of your debt, and that's all it is. It's a score of that. And with $184,000 worth of debt, we should not even be looking at options that are, hey, how can I get another loan for this? How can I buy a new car and get a new loan? How can I buy a house? How can I take a new personal loan? Debt should be just taken off the table in its entirety right now, because otherwise you're going to find yourself. The issue too is a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to open a new credit card because I want to improve my credit score, or I want to finance a car so I can improve my credit score. And in my opinion, I think the dumbest thing you can do is take on debt to improve your credit score, because a lot of people sign up for credit cards saying, hey, I'm going to improve my credit score. I'm going to pay this off every single month. But guess what? Now we got $1 trillion worth of credit card debt in America. You know how many people probably opened up all those credit cards saying, hey, I'm going to pay this off every single month? And they end up not, to improve their credit score, whatever it might be, to earn rewards. And it just opens up the door to just hurt yourself financially. And when you're in this much debt, I would say, hey, you need to burn the bridges and promise yourself from this day forward, I'm not going to borrow money again. And when you get out of debt and you want to buy a house, that's something you can look at. But you need to make that decision and say, this day forward, I'm not going to take out another loan. I don't care if someone calls me and says, hey, here's a $10,000 loan that I can give you to go buy a car or go on a trip or whatever it might be. You have to make that conscious decision to do that. Otherwise, you just continue yourself the opportunity to take on more debt, which doesn't put you further behind financially.
That's a good point. I thank you for that.
So whenever it comes to credit score, it only matters if you're going into debt. Personally, I have like a 800 credit score, and I've never had a car payment. And unfortunately, I did not have student loans. Very fortunate I didn't have any. I've never taken out a personal loan. I've never missed a credit card payment. And the only debt I have is a mortgage. And I never emphasized my credit score. I've never had a direct, hey, I need to figure out how to increase this. It's just increased because I've paid off my credit card in full every single month. I've never carried a balance on. And if you do that, then hey, guess what? Your utilization is very low. You don't have carry balance. You don't have any missed payments, and your credit score is going to naturally increase with time. So even thinking about your credit score in this situation, I don't care if your credit score is 400. I don't care if your credit score is 700 in this situation. The only thing credit score is going to help you with is if you're refinancing and get your lower rate. But as you pay off debt, your credit score should naturally improve because you don't have $184,000.
Yeah, because I've had my credit utilization under 30, and it does help tremendously. But you make a good point, Bailey. It is a good goal at this point in my life right now to really get rid of that debt.
Right now, if you want to retire, if you want to live life, and I know New Jersey is not a cheap place to live, and I don't know what Social Security will look like 10 years from now, but you got to start figuring out how do you clear this debt off anytime before you retire. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult to live, and you're going to be working for the rest of your life. And I don't want you to be in that situation either. So that's why I would just encourage you to say, hey, from this point on, you're talking about maybe I shouldn't get a loan from this company again. I would encourage you from this day on, do not get a loan from anyone ever again until this debt is paid off. And then at that point, you want to look at buying a house and you have saved up money to be able to do that, have started investing money. Then, okay, maybe that's an option to look at. But for the foreseeable future, until all this debt is paid off, I wouldn't even look at, besides refinancing a loan, if you have high interest debts, that might be the only option I would look at, getting another loan. But that would be just to clear up your current loans you have. So
Right.
The car loan, you have a $21,000 balance on that. How much did you buy that car for?
It's a lease.
Is that the buyout price?
Yeah, that is the buyout price right now.
And when's the lease end?
August next year. I get 3-year leases.
Okay, so if you want to buy the car next August, it will cost you $21,000?
Something like that, yeah.
Do you know leasing a car is probably the worst financial way to own cars or drive cars, I guess?
You know what? This is my first car in my entire life. I don't drive a lot. This is the second car I've actually gotten in my entire life. I don't drive a lot, and I like that I don't have to worry about annual inspections. Because I don't drive a lot, my maintenance on the car is very low. When it's over, I get another car. Maybe you can change my mind about that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of financing cars. I'm not a fan of leasing cars because, again, you owe someone money no matter what. And if you're leasing cars, you have to put a down payment down, then you have a monthly payment, and then at the end of that term, you have to do that again. But yeah, I mean, financing cars, the issue with financing and leasing cars is people end up getting more car than they can afford, or they go and finance a Mercedes, making $50,000 a year, and they finance a $30,000 or $40,000 Mercedes. Or leasing a car, you have to put this down payment down, then you pay monthly payments, then you have nothing at the end of it, so you got to do that cycle again. And I'm a proponent of, if you can't buy a car cash, can't afford it. That way you don't owe money to people. A lot of people buy cars and say, hey, I can afford this $500 a month payment, or I can afford this $400 a month payment. And then guess what? Life happens, emergency happens, and they can't afford that anymore. But when it comes to leasing a car, the issue is those payments will go on forever until you buy and own a car. You're going to have a $200 a month payment, or $300 or $400. I'm assuming because you bought this 3 years ago, interest rates were lower, car prices were a little bit lower, so you locked yourself into a decent car payment right now. For $218 isn't absurd, but guess what? When that renews next August and you either try to buy it and finance it, or you try to buy another car or lease another car, I guarantee your monthly payment is going to go up. And with leasing, that payment's going to go on in perpetuity because you never actually own the vehicle. That car also has limits with mileage. Don't drive a lot, then in your instance, you probably don't have to worry about that. But there's a lot of things with leasing that aren't favorable to you. They're leasing cars because they make more money off of it, because then they can sell it to you in this time period and make even more money off of you. So I'm always a proponent of, how do you owe the least amount of people the least amount of money? And one of those things in America is car loans that people decide to go and owe a lot of money on. And if majority of people didn't have a $500 a month car payment or a $700 a month car payment, their life would be a lot better because they'd have that money to go travel or to save or to invest. And so I'm never a proponent of, hey, how do you have more monthly payments? So when it comes to your car lease, obviously we have a lot of things to clean up too before that, but I'd be looking at what are your options between now and then that you can be saving up to buy cash for a car. Can you work with public transportation for a little bit when that lease is up? Because you can't get out of lease unless you pay a hefty penalty right now. But what are some of your other options at that time to do that so that you don't have this monthly payment anymore. So you don't have $20,000 worth of debt if you were to go finance that car in this term. Leasing cars, if you have unlimited money and you decide, hey, I want a new car every 3 years and I don't care about the financial responsibility of leasing a car, then yeah, that's a personal decision. People will sometimes do that. I saw someone the other day said he was leasing a Toyota, but that's because he works for a Toyota plant and he essentially gets discounts and everything that. He says, I know this is a bad financial decision, but I can do this. I can afford it. And I get a $50,000 vehicle for $300 a month. And he works for Toyota. So he gets a lot of benefits from that versus cost him out the door a lot more than that. So there are instances that, okay, if you don't care about money, it could make sense. But given your current financial situation, leasing cars, financing cars is only going to put you further behind.
Okay. I mean, I could definitely look at purchasing the car because since I don't drive a lot, I could probably hold on to a car for like a good 10 years.
I wouldn't look at purchasing this car because it's a $21,000 car. I'd be looking at what are your options for a lot cheaper cars. The Money Guys, they're big finance group on YouTube, and they have a rule called the 23-8 rule. I'm a proponent of not financing cars, but if you dire need a car, I don't think their rule is a bad idea to follow. I'm a proponent of pay cash, and that's it. But theirs is 23-8, which is 20% down for a 3-year term and no more than 8% of your gross income. So that puts kind of specific parameters on what your car payment should be or what it kind of looks like. I would be a proponent of how do you get that gross income even lower, especially with this much debt.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm more on the Dave Ramsey side. If you can't pay cash for the car, you can't afford it. But the Money Guys, I watched the video of theirs recently. I was talking about the 23-8 rule, and I thought it was definitely an interesting route to kind of look at. But if I was you, I'd be looking at what can you get for $5,000 to $12,000. It's not going to be the prettiest car. It might be a car that only lasts you for 5 years, but that means you can save up and pay cash for it, or if you can have a very minimal monthly payment for the interim, then that's not a bad situation to be in. Yes, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be the newest Mercedes or Audi or Toyota or whatever it might be. But if you can get your minimum payments down every single month, that'll give you more cash to start paying down these other debts faster. So,
all right. But my concern would be, safety, because, I have a lot of really nice safety features. It's not really about, it's stylish, yes, but it's not a Mercedes. It's a Mazda.
So it's a 2020 Mazda?
2021 Mazda.
Okay, so I'm not saying, hey, go get a 2005, 2002, 1990 vehicle, but what can you look at in 2014, 2015, 2017 that has airbags, works, gets you from point A to point B, protects you, keeps you safe, but does not destroy your financial future?
I can look at it, but like the newer cars, and I just went to AARP. They had a seminar on all of the new safety technologies. And my Mazda has all of those things. So I don't know if I want to go. I would have to go back and see like when all of this new technology is a standard featured on a car. Because I like having my blind spots. I like having that front collision. I like having the backup camera. I like all of those things.
They're definitely nice features, but they're also luxuries at the same time. And I guess, again, I can't make the decision for you, but I would definitely highly encourage looking at options that are cheaper alternatives when you're buying a car versus a $20,000 car, because $10,000 that you can knock off in terms of total debt versus having a $20,000 car, having a $10,000 car. So we can't sell the student loans. We can't go and buy a cheaper student loan for $50,000, but those are one of the things that we can actually tangibly change when your lease ends.
You're right.
That's something you can actually look at and change instantly versus the other things. Hey, you got to get money and throw it at it. Otherwise they're not going to move, versus the car is something that you can tangibly, and you have the decision to make. This car or this car, one's nicer, one's has better features, this one's still safe, still gets you point A to point B, might not be as nice, but it will save you $10,000 plus more of the course of the loan with interest rate if you finance it, which again, we got to figure out ways to not be in a situation to finance things as well. So
right. I think a lot of the challenges that I face too is I don't have a traditional source of income, and it's not a constant number that increases incrementally by percentages. Yes, that part is, but the other two jobs are not, it's a set amount consistently over time. And that's where I find the most challenge. And, I've listened to Dave Ramsey too, but I also feel like that is also something that maybe you can now start to help people with that have this volatile income. Because at some point I am going to just have the real estate and acting and the modeling and not, the executive assistant job.
In irregular income, first, I'm a big fan of Dave Ramsey. I think he's honestly phenomenal to learn from. His baby steps are easy to follow, understand, and he has a lot of good education out there. Being in a commission-based role, partially commission-based role with your real estate is, in my opinion, would be setting your budget up for success off of your salaried income. And then everything else on top of that is a cherry on top that you're using to pay towards. Is kind of how I would look at that.
I absolutely agree with that.
And if you can live off that $78,000, if not less than that a year, I mean, that's still.
It's a little bit of a challenge, but I do have the opportunity to get that increased. And that's a goal. And that's definitely something that I feel is doable. And I feel like you can help me tremendously with that.
On that note, let's dive into these expenses because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 different documents in front of me. And it looks like a lot of them are credit cards. We have 11 credit cards.
There's about 11 credit cards that I sent you.
How long has this credit card debt been going on for?
Not this amount, but I've had these 11 credit cards minimally 5 years. Like that's probably the newest one.
And are you still spending money on these credit cards?
Well, I would say the last 6 months, it increased tremendously because, a lot of the money from the award or the gift that I got last year was starting to run out. I was working on some real estate transactions and I just came to the realization that I needed to get some regular W-2 income. And, I was leaning very heavy on those credit cards, very heavy.
Yeah, I'm looking through these different ones. I mean, what was the credit card balance before you received the $90,000 worth of irregular income?
Before, I would say it was probably like $5,000, $4,000.
So over the last year, you've made over $130,000 last year, $150 on track this year, and we've racked up $25,000 additional in credit card debt. So that just is, that is a lot of money you've made, and your income increased drastically, and we're just living above our means right now then.
Okay, I'll agree with that. Last year was definitely a different year because it wasn't W-2 income, all of it. There was some, but...
What'd you make in 2021? What was your gross income?
I think that was just like at 90 or 100.
Okay, so it increased about $30,000 last year, but then that means your expenses increased a lot more, $55,000.
Last year's expenses increased tremendously because I was doing real estate full time. That was the big reason why the expenses increased so much, because I was doing it full time. Just trying different things. And, I don't know if I even I think I did put down all of the MLS fees. New York only has one MLS, but then New Jersey has three MLSs. One, I had to join a realtor board. So then that was additional money. So just that alone, those MLS fees are pretty hefty. You really need them because you can't operate without them.
So let's dive through what credit card do we want to start with? We'll start with Capital One. That's the first credit card I have.
All right, just start.
So let's see what transactions. So $144 in expenses last month on this card, and it was Park Mobile. Sephora, $115 at Sephora. What were you buying at Sephora for $115?
At Sephora.
Shouldn't be spending $115 at Sephora.
It was actually for an upcoming, I think it was either a photo shoot or a fashion show that I was in.
Were you getting paid for that photo shoot or fashion show?
Well, photo shoots are an investment. Fashion shows, I do get paid. So I usually get paid. It's usually a reimbursement because that's about the amount that I get paid for the show.
So you're breaking even on the show. If you're spending $115 and they reimburse it, you're not actually making anything.
Right. It's a total break even. Photo shoots are an investment.
How many photo shoots do you have to do?
I don't have to do them, but I want to do them because I want to. Well, let me reframe that. I do 2 photo shoots a year, and I wish I could do more, but 2 photo shoots a year. And 2 photo shoots a year, generally speaking, and I'll put in everyone that's involved, the stylist, the makeup artist, hair, sometimes a set production. A photo shoot for me could run, let's say, just a little bit under $2,000.
So we have our photo shoots done already. Can we pause the photo shoots for now until we get out of debt?
I have one coming up next Sunday, so...
Can you cancel it?
No, I definitely cannot, because here's the thing, and this is why I wanted to come on here with you, because I understand that a lot of debt reduction is based on fixed income and fixed goals, but I am an entrepreneur. I do have, I want to say 80% of my income is fixed, but there is a 20% that is not. And then I also have goals as an entrepreneur. So I hear you when you say cancel the photo shoot, because from a budget perspective, it doesn't make sense. That photo shoot that I've scheduled now is going to get me work as a model or an actor that can pay me as much as $2,000 or $10,000. It's an investment.
How is that photo shoot going to change compared to the previous photo shoots and work that you already have created from last year and earlier this year?
Well, because I have a different look. Like my hair is different. It shows my diversity. Like you change, like you're physically changing every year.
But that $2,000 could pay off this personal loan and start paying off one of these credit cards too right now, which will then start opening more cash flow. And it's like, I definitely understand, like when you're a model, when you're an actor, you need to have a portfolio. But right now, when you already have a portfolio, when you've already got this off the ground, you're making $5,000 to $10,000 a year from modeling and acting. Okay, let's put a pause on the $2,000 show or shoot and start using that towards paying off this debt. Still hustle and try to get more gigs and opportunities. That's $2,000 that could wipe away one or two of these credit cards, wipe away this personal loan, and start helping you make progress on this. But if you decide, hey, I'm still going to do this, or I'm still going to do that, you're going to just continue to find yourself in a repeated cycle. Because right now, you can't afford to pay $2,000 for a photo shoot. So that means that's going on a credit card, which means you're not taking a stance today and saying, hey, I'm never going to debt again. I'm never going to add more to this debt.
I will respectfully disagree, because I can't afford the $2,000 because I use cash to pay for it.
Where'd the cash come from?
I just recently closed on a transaction in Jersey City. So I have the cash in addition to now having the consistent income from my paycheck. So I used all cash for this photo shoot that's coming up next Sunday.
But instead of using that to paying off these other debts, you're now just keeping that debt around. So you're paying cash in theory, but you're not, because you're not paying off your debt that you have.
I mean, I'll respectfully agree with that.
I'm just trying to point out these are things that can change and that you can take. Again, we can't sell the student loans. We can't sell the credit card debt. But these are things that I'm not saying, hey, don't ever do a photo shoot again for the rest of your life. But I'm saying, hey, one photo shoot, $2,000, that pays off this personal loan that's at 30% interest rate. That pays off half of this other credit card, First Capital One credit card. That will help speed up your debt payoff a lot quicker than doing the photo shoot, in my opinion.
No, I totally get it. I totally get it. But I've also learned that sometimes it's not a race, it's a marathon.
It is a marathon.
I get what you're saying, though. And here's the thing that I can say to that is the photo shoot that I'm doing next Sunday, it's already been paid.
But if I was you, given your current debt, it needs to be a sprint. And if you're not intense about it, then it's never going to change. If you don't make that decision today to, hey, I'm going to cut up my credit cards, I'm never going to swipe these again, I'm going to start throwing every single dollar at this debt as quickly as possible, 10 years from now, you're going to still be in this credit card debt. You're still going to be in the student loan debt. And you have to make that decision. I'm going to flip the switch and I'm going to go all in. Or if you're not going all in on $180,000 of debt, it's going to be very difficult to get out of it.
You're right. You're right. Right. From that perspective, you're absolutely right. But I do feel like my position is somewhat unique, and I have unique goals that I'm trying to meet. And it's not like I'm 58, but I'm not thinking, oh my gosh, when I get 65, I just want to shut down and be retired. I don't. Like I want to be on HGTV hosting. I might be 65 when that happens. I'm not going to be sitting down. Like I feel like I'm not a traditional, mature woman that's just looking to chill out when I get 65. So for me, it is a marathon.
I think that is good. And you have the ability and desire to want to work, but I also want you to have optionality where, hey, you're 65 or you're 70 or whatever it is, and you want to take a year off or you want to go travel, you can do that. But if we're not being intense about paying this debt off, you're not going to have that optionality to do that. And that's the issue when you do owe people money, is you don't have as many options to decide what you want to do. You can't say, hey, I'm going to quit this job tomorrow for a lower pay raise because my boss is terrible or whatever it might be, because you need that money for your paycheck to start paying on these debt payments.
Yeah. I mean, I've been through that, with hating a job. And I feel like being an entrepreneur has made me a better job, because honestly, I view my job as VC money. But the difference between VC and a job is when you get VC money, you have to every day report in every hour of work that you did. As an employee, you still have to report in, not as detailed. They give you days off, they pay benefits, and as long as you're doing the work, everything is fine. And as far as I'm concerned, I have extensive executive assistant experience. Like I said, I'm viewing my job as VC money. Like it's helping me to build my business. It's helping me to keep my lifestyle afloat until.
But it needs to be used as money to pay off debt, not be
It
like
is.
float.
It is.
It's not because You've increased your debt by $25,000 in the last year.
Let me go back. Like I said, last year was a very unique year. So now I'm kind of forecasting how to make 2024 better because I did some things and it definitely was not smart. So now I'm just going into 2024 with a little bit of a different mindset, still keeping the same goals and still wanting to do things better. So that's where I am right now. And the attack on the debt is something that I'm willing to do. Maybe not as aggressive as the speed of Mr. Ramsey or you, but I definitely want to attack the debt.
I want you to attack it too, because I'm stressed about your finances, I think, more than you are right now.
Bro, it sounds like it.
I don't want you to be in a spot where you're 70, 80, 90, or 100 years old and you still have $100,000 worth of student loans.
I will not. I definitely don't feel like that would be a possibility because right now, as Bishop T.D. Jakes says, every challenge I am facing with courage and resolution, and there is resolution in all of it. So right now, my student loan debt, the lowest I got it down to is $531, and that will begin next summer. So like I have X amount of months to figure out how to get that 531. There could be some other resolutions happening too that I'm not aware of. But right at this moment, that's what I'm looking at. At this very moment, this debt that I have, it is enormous. I'm not going to lie. It is pretty big. And I am working very diligently to get all of those debts. But at the same time, I have these entrepreneurial goals that I want to meet. It may seem unorthodox the way that I'm going about doing it because it doesn't fit into a strict budget. But I am here to learn because you are already saying a few things that I could think about differently. Because right now, for 2024, there's going to be one photo shoot. That's it. We're not doing two because we can't afford it. That's the honest truth. We can't afford it.
And I'm all for being an entrepreneur and trying to continue to grow your business. I mean, I've had businesses that did well. I've had businesses that done terrible. Nothing else in between. And I just want you to take care of yourself personally as well as you're going through it, because you're going to have ups and downs all around. And if you can protect yourself on the financial side, make sure you're living below your means, then those roller coaster rides will put you in a better spot when you do close more deals one month and the next month you don't, or whatever that roller coaster ride looks like for you.
For me, sorry to answer, for me, the credit card debt is the biggest debt. And that is the debt that I really want to attack a lot, because once that debt gets down, then that will reduce a lot of my monthly expenses. Because right now, I don't have my spreadsheet, but I'm like paying $1,200 a month, right?
$1,200.
Right. So like I do and I will get that down aggressively, because that is a lot, because that would significantly reduce my monthly.
You get rid of the credit cards and you get rid of the personal loan. That's $150 a month. It's $1,400 a month back in your budget. That is not a small number of money.
Right. Right. No, and I agree with you. Like, that is a real big goal target. You know, like, I'm coming with my shotgun at that debt. I'm definitely feeling that one.
My first piece of advice for the credit card debt, because I'm going through this right now, and we have, like I said, 11 different credit cards, and we have $100 spent on it, $200, $600, $300, $100-something, $35. I mean, you're still spending money on these credit cards at over $1,000 a month. My advice would be cut those up tomorrow. Or if you're scared to cut them up, as George Kamala said, he's one of Dave Ramsey's personalities, put them in a Ziploc bag, put them in the freezer, and live without them. That prevents you from going to Sephora and spending $115. Use the makeup that you have at home. That prevents you going to Macy's and spending $126 that I have on here. That prevents you from going out to eat and getting coffee, looks like 3 or 4 days in a row at Joe's Coffee. By not having those credit cards, guess what? You got to live with the $170 you have in your bank account until the next paycheck comes in. And that's going to make you be a lot more mindful, a lot more intentional about the money that you're spending. And I can promise you, if $170 in your bank account, you're not going to go spend $126 at Macy's, $120 at Sephora, go out to eat, go order $50 on Amazon Prime, it looks like, another $15 on Amazon Prime. You're not going to be allowed to do that because you're not going to have the money in your bank account. You're going to be overdrafting.
Right. Let me ask you a question, though, Bailey. The thing about credit cards is you pay them off, but then they charge you inactivity fees. So, and then I've also learned that if you close an account, that impacts your credit score. I know right now that's not an important thing, but that's a lot of the reasoning behind. I mean, these are not new credit cards. I've had these cards for a while, but I've gotten them down to zero and life happened. but I've gotten them down to zero. But then I started getting inactivity fees. And then I started using some of my expenses to pay for the credit card. Like one credit card, I think, actually a couple. I know like the first Premier, I have two of them and they are extremely high, but one of them pays for my final expenses. So I have a $30,000 life insurance policy to pay for my funeral when I pass. And then I have, I think on the first Premier, there's Adobe, and that allows me to edit and create PDFs because I need to have that for my business. And those are charged on my credit cards.
Why can't they be moved to your debit card if they're necessities in your budget?
It can be. I can do it. But my question is the inactivity fees and me actually cutting, like closing the accounts.
So inactivity fees, first look on Google, dormancy fees are no longer allowed on credit cards. So you should not be getting charged inactivity fees. And then it does say, this other article from this year says fees are legal and can be avoided by making one transaction per year or closing the account altogether. You can close the account or whatever it might be, and then you just have to pay it, obviously. But I wouldn't worry about that because guess what? I mean, we have, like I said, 11 credit cards. I don't know how you can track your spending between all these different things. I'm having trouble when you send me all these statements of seeing how much you spend on each card, where different transactions live. Simplicity is key, especially when it comes to getting out of debt. If you have 11 different credit cards, that allows you to swipe $50 here, $50 here, $50 here. I mean, that will just add up a lot over time. So who cares about the credit score right now? Who cares about dormancy fees, which doesn't look like they're a thing anymore? Let's just close the opportunity or the option to go into more debt or to spend more money than you can by just cutting them up, put them in the freezer, whatever it is, close them and say, hey, I'm going to be making these minimum payments still, but I'm closing the account so I can't use it anymore. Freeze it, whatever it is.
I agree with you.
Even if a dormancy fee is, we'll call it $50 or $100 for a year in a world where somehow you could charge that. I can promise you by not having that card active or used, you'll spend less than $100 on that card through the course of the entire year because you won't have it linked to Amazon Prime. You won't have that linked to go out and go buy coffee every single morning. So I personally wouldn't even worry about that, think about it. I'd be cutting these up today, putting them in the freezer, whatever. Actually, you have 11 accounts. I would never keep all 11 open. If you, for some reason, want to keep one or two open and put those in your freezer until whatever worst case you need a credit card, because a lot of people say, I need a credit card because what if this happened? And that makes you sleep better at night, put it in the freezer, and I can promise you, you'll feel better not using it, but you maybe will sleep better having peace of mind knowing that it might be there.
Well, the reason why I have them all open is because a lot of articles say if you close it, that decreases your score. I know you say not to worry about it, but that was the motivation for me to not close it because when I had them paid off, I was like, all right, I want to close it. And
that's what credit card companies want you to think.
No, it wasn't from credit cards. It was from Experian, TransUnion. I was reading articles from them directly, and it was saying when you close an account,
it definitely can hurt your credit score in terms of the lifetime of the different credit lines you've opened. But again, at the same time, it doesn't matter when we have this much debt. I don't really care where your credit score goes right now.
I get what you're saying right now. Forget about the credit score, but just letting you know that was the motivation. It wasn't just, oh, I just want to go shopping.
But you read that, kept them open, then we went shopping.
There was a significant depletion in cash flow. Like I said, a lot of this credit card debt really just came about in the last. I'm sorry, I'm not the cash flow, the credit card debt. Let's just say I started getting more significant steady cash flow in August. I'm going to say from, let's say, June to August was a really hard month. And I leaned really heavy on those credit cards and it's showing now.
But at the same time, how the moment we got between Best Buy and Amazon on two different cards to see over $200 in transactions last month on it. And again, Amazon Prime, probably one of the best inventions and company that makes people's lives a lot easier in terms of next day delivery. But guess what? It costs you to spend a lot more money than you actually need to. And I'd say, hey, cancel Amazon Prime. If that means you have to go to the store to buy something, then guess what? I can promise you'll think twice about that purchase versus one tap delivery and it's there in 20 minutes. It's just so easy to spend a lot of money. I canceled or I deleted Amazon off my phone because when my wife and I moved into our house about 18 months ago, I had probably 10 Amazon packages at my door every single day because it made it so easy. I'd go on there, one tap delivery, and I was sick by how much money I spent on it. And I was like, this is absurd. I realized there's a problem. And I was like, okay, the solution is get Amazon off my phone, deleted it. And guess what? My Amazon spending has gone down 90+% since I did it. And the only way I can order Amazon is if I'm with my wife and on her phone. And that's makes it a lot more difficult for me to order Amazon. It causes friction to be able to order it. So when I'm driving or I'm somewhere, I'm like, oh, I need something from Amazon. Guess what? I can't order it right then and there.
Right. No, it does help to create an environment that makes things less easier. So I definitely feel like that's definitely a good idea.
Let's see what else we have in here. We got our nails done for $56 on August 25th. I'd be saying if you need to get your nails done, let's get some cheap nail polish from CVS or Walgreens or whatever's down the corner and start doing that ourselves. I mean, it'll save you $50 every single month you're trying to get your nails done. Best Buy, we have $15, $106. What are you buying at Best Buy for $120?
The new job that I started, I had to buy a monitor because I'm a contract worker. They don't reimburse me. The laptop that I was given is 14 inches. I have 58-year eyes. I have glasses. I can't work on a 14-inch.
I won't fault you for the monitor because I can't work without a monitor. I would just say, hey, let's look at what's Facebook Marketplace. Get one for $50.
Well, I mean, the other thing that I was looking at, because I didn't get reimbursed, this is an expense that I'm going to be able to write off on my taxes because it's a work-related expense.
Let's see what else. This card has, and we got gas, we got Zoom. Can you use Google Meets instead of Zoom?
Yeah, I need Zoom for my real estate clients because I work directly with relocation companies. So a lot of the clients I meet initially on Zoom. I try to do the free Zoom for 30 minutes, but it doesn't make for a nice impression. So I opted to pay for it.
Another thing I'd suggest too is, again, complexity right now I think is a big issue. If you have 11 credit cards, very difficult to track. And also if you have expenses for real estate, for if you're a contractor and you have business expenses that you need to be accounting for, having those in the same bank account and the same credit card is just a nightmare at the end of the year for you trying to figure out which is a business expense, which is a personal expense. And what I would suggest is no credit cards, but if you have one checking account that is for your income and then you have one that's for business expenses. That way you can look through and see, export all those transactions each month, keep track of it versus piecing out what is this when you got something from Target, you bought dish detergent or you bought groceries compared to Zoom, compared to whatever other expenses you have, the MLS platform. But that way, again, simplicity, I think, will just help you there versus right now you got 11 credit cards, 3 or 4 bank accounts that you have to pick and choose. Where did I spend this? Where did I spend that? And that, again, causes just complexity issues for you to see where your money is and to account for it too at tax season to make sure that you are capturing everything you need to.
Right. You're right. And I got the 2 checking accounts for that reason. But as you said earlier, life happens. And yeah, we're going to get life back on track.
So I see you send someone $100 for their birthday. I'm all for birthdays, celebrating people's birthdays. But when we got $184,000 worth of debt, if that's a friend, if that's a family member, go spend time with them. Go show up at their door and surprise them with a card and a walk in the park. Something, but $100 for their birthday, it's just, you're putting other people first before you're taking care of yourself. And I want you to take care of yourself because you're not at your best when you got $184,000 worth of debt. You're best when you're getting out of debt, you're out of debt. And then guess what? You can show up for other people a lot more. You can be there for them. You can help them. And people, if they love you, if they want to hang out with you, they don't care about your money. They care about spending time with you. So I would suggest birthdays, put that on a pause. If someone's birthday, figure out what's fits in your budget. You can bake them a $5 box of cupcakes for their birthday and show up at the door. Or go say, hey, friend, let's go for a walk for your birthday in the park or whatever it might be. Have a picnic. But $100 for someone's birthday, when that, again, can be going towards setting yourself up and bettering your financial health, you need to be picking that choice 10 times out of 10 versus giving them $100.
Absolutely. I definitely agree, Bailey.
And then the coffee, we got coffee 3 or 4 days in a row right here. I know it's only a $3 cup of coffee, but when you're in this amount of credit card debt, again, eating out should be the last thing you're doing right now. And I understand you want coffee, you're hungry, whatever it might be, but eating out is one of the easiest things to cut back on in terms of price and saving money, because that is a choice that you can make. Hey, I'm going to go eat chicken and pasta or enchiladas or whatever. That is a cheap, easy meal to make, and you can start meal prepping that, save you a lot of money from that. If you want coffee, if you have a coffee maker at home, figure out what is good cheap coffee that you can have and fix that at home. But you really have to start prioritizing not buying a $18 chopped salad, it looks like, on August 15th.
Right.
You can make a meal at home for a couple of dollars. So what else do we have in here? I do see some of the different real estate transactions. Uber, why are we Ubering right now?
You know, when I have my international relocation clients, they do love the subway too because they want to see New York. But sometimes, depending on the client, if it's a sales or rental, if it's a sale, Uber is better because you want to get your clients in and out fast.
Subscriptions. You put in the transaction sheet, $16 for subscriptions. We got Spotify for $11 and YouTube TV for $95. Not sure why YouTube TV is $95 because isn't it $72 a month? Are you paying for premium stuff?
I think I have one premium channel for YouTube TV. I have to take a look. I don't know.
How would you feel about canceling Spotify and listening to YouTube, free YouTube music, or Pandora, or Spotify with ads, whatever it is? Get rid of that $11 and YouTube TV, canceling that, saving yourself $100 a month. And in that free time, if you want to watch something, find it on YouTube that you can watch, or educate yourself about finances, listen to more Dave Ramsey, whatever it might be. But $100 right there, back in your pocket. We can cancel these subscriptions. I know it's not fun, but again, I'm trying to figure out what are some things in your budget that you can get rid of Amazon, get rid of Best Buy, get rid of Target, Sephora, whatever some of those are. These are hundreds of dollars a month that adds up quickly that you can be using to pay off this debt.
Yeah, I could definitely reduce the YouTube TV because I know there is one or two premium channels that I don't watch because I don't watch a lot of TV because I'm very busy. Spotify, I have the premium Spotify for $11 a month. So I really don't want to cancel that. I tend to listen to music a lot.
Can't you listen to Pandora or something that's free?
I don't like commercials.
Do you like that?
I use my Spotify to go to sleep too because there are sleep playlists on there. When I'm working and doing prospecting calls, I have my Spotify classical music on. When I'm memorizing lines for auditions, Spotify classical music. So, and like I said, it's the premium because the premium Spotify is about $35, $40. But I was working for a New York City broker and she gave me that Spotify subscription as a beta tester. So it's very cheap.
Spotify's only $11 a month for premium.
Well, you know what? I don't want to give up Spotify. I don't want to give up Spotify.
I can't make you give it up, but I'm just pointing out things that.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
A couple of things on the subscriptions. We have YouTube TV and then we have Netflix. What if you cancel YouTube TV and you only have Netflix? $16, that will save you $94 a month right there. Don't think we need all of those. And then on the phone side, I see we have a T-Mobile bill for $111, but we also have a Verizon for $56. Why do we have two different carriers, phone lines, $170 worth of mobile devices?
Okay, so Verizon is for internet service. I have a router in my apartment.
Okay. That's Wi-Fi?
Yeah, so that's Wi-Fi. The T-Mobile is for the cell phone and for the iPad.
Do you need cell service on your iPad? Or is that a financed iPad through T-Mobile?
It's both. I have cell service on my iPad.
So that's not even on the debt category, I guess, is the iPad there.
I mean, possibly. I'm enjoying this conversation. I know I hope I don't seem too combative, but you are making me think about a lot of different things.
That's the whole point. I appreciate you pushing back, and I'm pushing back too, because I just want to point out, hey, there are decisions that you can make that are slightly different. Yes, there might not be the most favorite thing in the world to cancel YouTube TV and only have Netflix, or cancel Spotify and have to listen to ads. But I just want to point out, hey, I want you to get out of debt. I want you to not have this overbearing weight of debt on your shoulders. And what are some actionable things that you can do? Because I can't help you go and turn your student loans from $110,000 to $10,000 without throwing $100,000 at it. Like, you're not going to be able to pay that down. You can't sell it. You can't make those decisions to go away. But what I can help you decide is what are things that you can actually tangibly change in your current situation and get rid of those. So
I can definitely reduce the YouTube TV monthly costs. I can definitely reduce that.
And that's what it comes down to, is like, you have to sit down, run through your expenses, run through your budget, start cleaning that up and figure out what is a reasonable budget that I can stand under. I mean, the budget you sent over, I would say personal care, you put $400, that needs to be reduced to under $100 a month. And then guess what? You're going to be spending about $3,100 a month in living expenses. And that means you should have over $5,000 a month going towards this debt. Yes, $2,500 of it is going to be going towards the minimum payments. That'll give you at least $2,500 more a month that is going towards additional principal payoff on these debts, which will help you kind of get the ball rolling on these. But my suggestions to you would be, first is like I said, budget. You got to be sitting down, setting up your budget and making sure you're tracking every single expense. Cutting those unnecessary expenses out the door. Personal care, $400 a month, don't need to be doing that.
No, I'll push back a little bit on that because I am 58. I have hypothyroidism, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. And once I become a permanent employee, my massages will be reimbursed through my medical insurance because I need them. I also have arthritis in my knees. So my monthly massages will eventually become a reimbursable expense.
How much they cost you a month right now?
About close to $100.
Okay, let's cancel YouTube TV and keep the massages then. Can't have them all.
Can't have it all, but I could reduce the YouTube TV though.
No, I'm not saying reduce it from 94 to 72. I'm saying reduce it from 94 to 0. And then guess what? There's your massage budget right there.
No, I need to have the TV sometimes.
Can they cancel Netflix?
That's a big possibility because I don't watch it as much. But that's a huge possibility.
We got to pick and choose. We can't keep everything.
Right. You're right.
Yeah. And then next, credit cards. We need to close and cut up these credit cards. 11 credit cards is more credit cards than I think I've ever seen someone have open.
You don't talk to a lot of people from New York then.
If you have any friends that want to be on the show, let me know, please. But cut up the credit cards because 11 is a lot. It is not worth having them open. It's not worth spending any money on them. You need to put yourself on a cash basis, whether that's doing the envelope system, which could be good to look at, or just using your debit card. But by having these open allows you the opportunity to start swiping money because you're spending more on a lot of those cards a month than you're paying towards it, which is just increasing your credit card debt. So let's just eliminate that possibility altogether by taking those credit cards, cutting them up, putting them in the freezer, consolidating it down greatly. If you want to keep 1 or 2 open and leave those in the freezer, so be it. But 11 cards, do not need to keep those open.
Right.
And then you really have to start deciding on the business side when it comes to real estate, when it comes to the modeling and acting, you have to really put tight parameters on your budget for those things. If someone is paying you $500 to do a modeling gig and you need to spend $100 on makeup for that one, could I get behind that? Sure. Would I say you need to figure out how to do it as cheaply as possible? Yes. But if someone is paying you $100 or $50 and you have to pay $200 for a hair and makeup, you shouldn't be doing those opportunities because that is costing you money at the end of the day. And you already have a portfolio, you already have experience. Paying someone $150 basically to do your hair and makeup to be in a shoot is not worth your time and not worth your energy. You have to be doing things that are producing income, that are putting money in your pocket so you can be throwing this at the debt. And then when it comes to budgeting on the marketing side of the places that for the real estate side, you really have to put parameters on that side so you're not going over budget. You're making sure you're making money on these things because making $150,000 a year this year is a phenomenal income to be in. I know New York, New Jersey is an expensive place. I think I looked, the median income in New Jersey is like $40,000. So you're drastically miles above that. Yes, I understand New York City is an expensive place to be, but it's not like you have a $4,000 a month rent. If you were renting a place for $4,000, making $150,000 a year, yeah, that would probably put you in a tight belt. But you got $1,500 a month in rent, making $150,000 a year. That is a phenomenal spot to be in when it comes to your rent to your income ratio. So that means money is being spent other places, and you really have to start just deciding what is worth it right now to spend money on and what is not. What can you go without that can be going towards paying this debt off? Because even throwing $2,500 additional on top of the minimum payments a month, you're still going to be taking years to probably get out a lot of this debt. It's not going to be a slow process at all. And I mean, that's $30,000 you can throw at it. So you can start knocking a lot of this out, but you really have to stick to a plan and stick to it. And in your situation, I'd go after the snowball method where you list the debt smallest to largest. So right now the personal loan, $1,000 is probably the lowest one. And then you got a bunch of different credit cards that are $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 will be the next ones. And then you start spiraling your way up.
Right.
Comes to the IRS is usually first. And it sounds like you're currently working through some stuff with a tax organization on that. So I would say start attacking the credit card debt first, the personal loan. But then once you get that figured out, the IRS probably needs to become top priority because you don't want to owe the IRS money.
Yeah, I already have an active plan. I actually just talked to my tax person today. So I already have an active plan. They're going to propose an offer to the IRS probably this week. And I hope they say yes because that will save me a significant amount of money. And then that will, decrease my debt. And then hopefully, if the IRS says yes, then the state of New Jersey will follow suit. So that would all be perfect.
Well, hopefully that goes through for you. And if it doesn't, then hey, we got to start figuring out the plan to pay the IRS off first probably, and then attacking these credit card debts. So $12,000 to the IRS, $8,000 state of New Jersey. It'll take you probably 8 months to pay those off with additional $2,500 a month going towards it. But hey, you can clear that up the next 10 to 12 months and then start attacking the credit card debt. And in the meantime, credit card debt's not going to go up in balance because we're going to cut up those credit cards. I loved your idea of, hey, what are some jobs and opportunities you can look at that will pay you a comparable wage that will pay off your student loans or have some student loan forgiveness program a part of them? Because that means you go work for them for 3 years, 5 years, and they pay off that $110,000. I mean, that's an additional $30,000 to $20,000 a year that you're getting if they're paying that off. So I'd definitely look at comparables for that. What are some opportunities like that? Because that will obviously make a drastic impact on your financial future. So
Absolutely.
Sharon, I'm going to be honest. You said 6 to 7 in terms of your financial situation. I think you have an amazing attitude. I think you have an amazing heart. And I think that you will figure this out. But given your current financial situation, I would put you probably at a 1, because right now you're 58, and I know you went to college late when you're 40, but I can't sit here and tell you statistically you have 50 years left of your life, because the average age is 70 something years old.
Right.
And so you don't have the energy of a 21-year-old that just graduated from college that can work 90 hours a week and not die. So I'd put you at 1, because we got to start making progress on this, because I don't want you to be 65, 70 and still have this massive pile of debt. And I am hoping that this conversation was beneficial for you to start looking at what are some things that you can change, what are some things you can look at, and start realizing, yes, more income does help your situation, like we talked about earlier, but it really all starts with your habits and spending now, because over 49% of Americans making over $100,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck. That means, frankly, you're not unique. 49% of people making the same money as you are living paycheck to paycheck. And you live obviously in a high cost of living area, but your living expenses are very low for that area. So you're not unique in the sense of having student loans, of having credit card debt, of living paycheck to paycheck, making over $100,000 a year. And there are countless people that have gotten out of debt in the same situation as you. And I know you can do it. It just comes down to creating a plan, sticking to the plan, and not stopping until you do that. And it's going to come with life choices of you can't go on these vacations, or you can't go shopping at Macy's or Target or whatever, and Amazon Prime's got to go. But I would rather you sacrifice those things for the short term for the next 2 or 3 years, figure out how can you get out of this debt, pay this all off, so that after that, okay, great, you're going to have a budget every single month to go get your massages, to go get your nails done, or go do this or that, or go travel. But you really got to start figuring out your plan for this, your timeline, setting quantifiable goals for that. And then once you get debt free, you got to really start hustling to start saving and investing money. Because again, I don't want you to be 60, 70, or 175 and you don't want to work anymore, not have anything in investment. So that's the next step. Once you get out of debt, you start educating yourself about investing and start doing that. But right now, with investing with interest rates on credit cards, interest rates on student loans, even at 5.75% interest rate on student loans, those things would be going first before I start even investing. So
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Bailey. This was fantastic.